Learning a new language efficiently and effectively. The complete guide. Learning a new language can be tough. However, it's all in how you approach the learning process. With the right methodology, you can learn any language swiftly, no matter how hard the language is. So here are 6 tips and tricks to make language learning easier. Number 1. Don't get stuck in the tourist zone. You know those basic words and expressions people love to learn to be able to brag about how cultivated they are, or to be able to enjoy their touristic experience when they visit a country by saying words like thank you or good morning to a native speaker? These words and expressions are always a good start. That's why they always occupy the first 2 or 3 chapters in language books. However, the problem with these words is that they might give a false impression that a person has acquired an elementary proficiency of the language. Whoever falls in this trap would typically add the language to their CV or to their profile on LinkedIn. This is problematic. You know the saying, the more you know, the less you know? Meaning, the more you know, the more you realize how much you still don't know? Well, in this case, it can also mean, the less you know, the more you think you know. Indeed, ignorance is a bliss. But in learning languages, it's not. Sooner or later, the person who knows a little over 10 words or expressions in a certain language will realize the sad reality that he has a very long way ahead. So, if you developed an interest for a language and you're willing to learn it, make sure you don't get too comfortable with yourself after you learn the tourist vocabulary list. Remember, learning a language is an iceberg. It's like an iceberg, and this list does not even constitute the tip of the iceberg. In any case, here is a list of the English equivalent of these words, which are always a good appetite booster for learning a new language. Hi, hello, welcome, good morning, good day, good evening, good night, goodbye, nice to meet you, please, thank you, you're welcome, how old are you, what's your name? Number 2. You can never get by without learning grammar. Learning grammar is a bit tricky because it seems like too much rules, and once you know about all the rules, you notice that there are special cases as much as the regular ones. So you start losing enthusiasm about understanding grammar as a whole, and you fall into the trap of deciding to learn the grammar by the ear. In other words, you try to get used to the grammar as part of getting used to how the words sound to you. However, although you can really learn the language by hearing it, you still have to learn the grammar, at least the basic rules, or else you will be speaking with a broken language all your life. The trick is to regard grammar not as a set of stiff rules, but rather as a method to understand the following about the language. Sentence structure. In a nutshell, sentence structure means 1. Word order, i.e. which word comes first in a specific sentence, and 2. Word form, i.e. how the word might change depending on its position in the sentence. So if you look at grammatical rules as means to understand the sentence structure and the sentence structure only, you will start noticing that grammar is actually fun. It's very rational, and it helps you towards understanding the general feel of the language. So, if languages are buildings, grammar would definitely constitute the foundations. And you don't want to construct a building with no foundations. That would be crazy. The same way, the alphabet would be the building block of the language. So, if you want to start learning a new language with an alphabet different than the one you're used to, then you're gonna have to practice the alphabet from the beginning and get it out of the way so that you will be able to focus on other things as you progress. Number 3. There is no escape from vocabulary lists. No matter how hard you try to convince yourself that you can learn the language only by immersing yourself into listening and speaking without doing any self-study, you will eventually notice that this will slow down the process a lot. Of course, immersion learning is a successful technique, and it ensures that you will retain the language more than if you rely on self-study only. However, immersion learning works only if you're in a situation where you have no other alternative than to try to speak using only the language you are trying to learn. But what are the odds you'd get such a chance? I'd say there's low probability for that. And even if you are lucky enough to get such a chance for passive immersion learning, it will be too excruciating in the beginning. You will find yourself obliged to get out your notepad, jot down some words, and try to memorize them. So, if that's how the story ends, perhaps you should reconcile with the idea from the beginning and prepare yourself for some old-school studying. Number 4. A vocabulary list is a two-way road. Once you start learning words off a vocabulary list, you will find out the true meaning of bilingualism and multilingualism. In a nutshell, multilingualism is to be able to find the nuance of meaning for a certain notion across several languages. To do so, you will have to be quick in finding the equivalents for the same term across various languages. And this is actually the main trick in learning vocabulary. Let's say you are an English speaker and you're learning German. When you're studying a vocabulary list, you will have first to practice telling the meaning of the German word in English once you read it. And then you will have to practice to remember the word in German once you see its English equivalents. Only this way you will be able to switch from English to German and back. Learning word lists is actually great to help you speed up the process of advancing from one language level to another. For example, if you have finished your lower beginner level, by learning additional 600 or 900 words depending on the language, you can finish the upper beginner level and start with the intermediate level. However, studying word lists is too risky. You have to review the lists regularly until you're sure they are carved into your long-term memory, or else you end up forgetting most of them. That's why it's important to practice reading and writing texts that include the related vocabulary to help you retain it. Number 5. It's important to try to think using the language. So, you are learning a new language, say Russian. You are practically bombarding yourself with information on a daily basis. Vocabulary, grammar, phrases, you name it. Now what? Of course, practice is essential. So you're gonna have to read and write, or you can listen to songs. Maybe watch movies. And if you're lucky enough, you get the chance to speak with someone fluent in Russian. All of that is important, but it's not always possible. You might simply not have the time for it. So instead, you can try to think in Russian. After all, if you are trying to write or speak, you will have to think of the sentences first. So why not do it as a mental exercise by itself? This way, you will get to review everything you are learning. So next time you are driving your car or walking your dog, try to make up sentences in your head to express some thoughts. And if you fail to find the right words, you can seek the aid of Google Translate later on. Then you can check if your sentence is correct by translating it to your native language. Number 6. There will always be gaps. So, you're finishing one language course after the other with flying colors? Or better yet, you're living in the country and getting to talk to native speakers on a daily basis? You think that's the end of the story? Well, no. A language is a lifelong commitment. There's always something new to learn. So, if you keep this idea in mind, you will start being less hard on yourself, especially when you're in the beginner or intermediate phases of learning a language. Remember, Rome wasn't built in a day, so try to aim for a proficiency level that enables you to use the language comfortably. And fluency will definitely come with time. If you're bilingual and learning a third language, comparing your skill in the new language with that of your native language is a crazy act, and comparing it with that of your second language is an unjust act. Again, don't be hard on yourself. A language needs years and years to master, so don't aim for mastery from day one. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned to my future videos, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel.